There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, the Dwight.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Hello and welcome to episode 26 of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Hope you're doing well out there, and thanks for checking out yet another episode. I'm your host, Anthony Merchant, here with you with your June rundown, and it's so crazy to think. I mean, I've been doing these now, at the end of each month, and this would be our 6th rundown. We started doing the show, I guess, end of December, but technically, we recorded the intro in December of last year, but I believe it got released this year. So, we've only been going since January. And it's insane to think that we're 6 rundowns in now, let alone the fact, podcast aside, I can't believe we're already at the end of June going into July. It's crazy, but, I feel like I normally say that. I feel like a lot of years just fly by and it hits you around this time. You go how the hell did it become June all of a sudden? Summer hits you out of nowhere. But this year, I feel like, the more I think about it, it's well, no wonder you feel that way. You've been stuck inside basically for, half of the year, probably everyone feels this way. I feel like this is kind of the great equalizer in that way where everyone who's I would say just about anyone you talk to would probably be where the hell did the year go? But there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? Everyone has a reason, and it's because, well, hey, we've been locked, and for a reason, but hey, we've been locked inside, and that's where the year went. That's when I think about it and go, where the hell did the year go? Well, that's where the year went. But I'm happy that I've been able to do the podcast this year and hear from a lot of great people. It's been very cool. I've been hearing a lot more from listeners emailing me, telling me about what they like about the show and whatnot, and also hitting me up. I got some Power Chord Hour stickers made. I know I've mentioned it on the show a couple times now, but man, I gotta say, I've made a couple different promotional things throughout the year for the Power Chord, or the years for the Power Chord Hour. Starting with some pins I made a few years back. Had pins made a couple times. We've had a couple different designs of those. T-shirts that our great listener, Grace, who has been listening to the radio show since at least, we started in 2016, and I remember talking to Grace in 2017. So, pretty much since the beginning. That's the first time we talked. She may have been listening, since the very beginning. But very, very rad, and she got us some shirts made. And, so we've had shirts, we've had pins, and guitar picks, my favorite thing, because for me they're very practical, because I play guitar and bass, so, I get Power Chord Hour guitar picks made. And speaking of which, I just got some made as well, which shout out to Steve Clayton Picks, who hooked it up, and really, really some good-looking picks. I think the best ones we have had yet. We've made a couple hundred of them, so they are out there, and there's a good chance that if you're listening to this, maybe you have some. But this is a whole new look to them now they are orange, and they're very, very cool. I like them even more than the old ones. So hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com, if you want some free guitar picks, which once again, I just want to shout out Steve Clayton USA. Go check them out. They do custom guitar picks, and I've been using them. I've used them every time that we've made picks for the show, and also years ago, I made some with my Twitter handle pre-radio show. This was back in I think 2013 or 14. That's how I originally heard of Steve Clayton, but I hit them up and they hooked it up. So I want to shout them out. Hit me up for some Power Chord Hour guitar picks, as well as those stickers that I was talking about, and both are absolutely free. But what I was getting at with the stickers was, throughout the last 4 years of having the radio show, I've made different promotional things for the show, and nothing has ever apparently gotten people so into it than free stickers. I cannot believe it. These things are going faster than the shirts. They're going faster than the guitar picks. They're going faster than the pins. and in quite high volume, because this is the first time I've ever gotten stickers made for anything, and I was surprised at how many I could get made for how cheap I got them made. And so, I mean, I have tons of them, and I can't believe how many I have sent out. I've sent so many out, and some really cool ones, I got to say. I got to send some to former guests of the show, and just a few other people who I am like legitimately fans of, and was just so like when I was like, hey, like, you know, hit me up people, you know, on social media about the stickers, like hit me up if you want some free stickers. And I got hit up by a few people that I'm like, oh, that's so rad. Like, I was just so excited to send them stickers. And it's been cool because, you know, you get people who are kind of, it's funny, but I mean, I guess really kind of finding out about the Power Chord Hour through those stickers, because on social media, you know, I throw that up there and there's people who aren't even following us who hit me up for free stickers. And I'm like, hey, it's like, hey, more power to you. It's like, here's some free shit. And, you know, hopefully check out the show. But yeah, it's been very cool. I cannot believe. I mean, I just got them made like about 2 weeks ago. You know, from me recording this right now, and yeah, I mean, I can't believe I've probably sent out at least 100 stickers so far. And, you know, once again, if you want some absolutely free, powerchordhour@gmail.com. I got those great guitar picks made too. So hit me up, you know, if you want one, if you want both, whatever, just hit me up. I'll probably end up actually just sending you both anyways. So, yeah, hit me up there and I will send you some out. And, thank you so much. I mean, for all the people who have hit me up so far, and, with the kind words, who, you know, have, just said very, very nice things about the show. And, you know, hit me up for the stickers. I'm more than happy to send them out. And I don't think it was on here. I think it was the radio show I was talking about last week. And I'm like, look, I'm not telling you to go do anything stupid with these stickers, but get creative where you stick them. You know, like that's all I'm saying. Like, don't be stupid. Like, you know, don't do anything real. I don't know what word I'm looking for. Some variation of don't be a dumbass. But, you know, go find some creative places to stick them, and, you know, hit me up and show me where you ended up putting them. And, yeah, you know, I've been very excited about them. They are, I gotta say, I really do like the stickers. I'm happy that I got them made. And, I'm so conflicted. I got a new car recently, and, I'm contemplating, maybe I should say more past tense, that I contemplated it before, and I think I'm not going to do it, but I was going to put one of the stickers on my car, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, can you, you know, when you hit me up for a free sticker, let me know what you think about this. Should I put a Power Chord Hour sticker on my car? I mean, it's my podcast, it's my radio show. I mean, is that just fucking lame? Like, I mean, can I put that on there, or is that just, you know, like, I guess it kind of goes with however you view. I look at it this way. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird when musicians wear their own band's T-shirts or merch. So it's like, I kind of look at it like that and go, damn, I have a bumper sticker on mine. I mean, like in a way, it's like, you know, as a way to promote my show, you know, so it's kind of out there. But at the same time, it's like, damn, dude, like, you're the host of that show. Like, you can't be wearing that, you know, like I love the Power Chord Hour T-shirts that, Grace got us made, but it's like, I don't know that I would walk around wearing one. Not because, I mean, they look fucking awesome, but just because it's like, man, I feel weird. It's like, it's my own show. It's like, if someone asks me like, hey, what's the Power Chord Hour, you know, from like reading off my shirt, it's like, I feel like a real dick when I'm like, it's my radio show. Like, I don't know. Hit me up. Am I chewing my head about that, or is it like, nah, dude, like, yeah, like keep that off your, you know, no bumper stickers. Let listeners enjoy those. No bumper stickers for me. But yeah, it was a real dilemma. I'm like, do I stick one on there? Is that like the first sticker that I put on my car? But I decided I decided against it. I mean, I guess unless somebody you know, veers me back in the other direction, I'm gonna go with not putting it on my car. But yeah, I've been very stoked this month. You know, got the stickers made, got the guitar picks made, and got both of those in. And I'm also very excited. I've been just getting stuff ready. These next couple weeks, I'm gonna have some throwback episodes for you. But I'm going on I'm gonna go visit some family down south. And, you know, while social distancing and all of that good stuff, but I'm going to go down there for a couple weeks to South Carolina. So I'll be gone for a little while, But I'm gonna put up some throwback episodes. So I mean, I've been getting my trip ready. I've been getting pre-recorded some radio shows. So the radio show's done for a couple weeks while I'm gone, and I'm doing those throwback episodes for this podcast. Just want to make sure that there's some stuff out there, so you got some stuff to listen to while I am gone. But yeah, going to be in South Carolina, and on the way down, going to go hit up the Blue Ridge Parkway, drive that on the way down, and meet up with a buddy in Norfolk, Virginia. He's in the Navy, and he's stationed there, so we're going to go... I don't know yet. Originally, we were actually going to do the Blue Ridge Parkway together. He had a 3-day weekend, so he's going to do that with me. We're just going to do the Virginia section, but now he has to be on call for some stuff. So I think we're going to go hit up the Outer Banks while I'm down there. And once I drop him off, I'll probably end up getting on the Blue Ridge Parkway and riding that down to South Carolina. And I'm excited. I did all of the Blue Ridge Parkway in 2018. And if you don't know what it is, I didn't know what it was up until a few months before I took it in 2018. And then I found out, like, everyone else seemed to know what it was but me. So, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm saying it right now and you have no clue what the hell I'm talking about when I say the Blue Ridge Parkway. But maybe you do, because apparently a lot of people do. I mean, it is voted like one of the most scenic drives in the country. And I gotta agree with it. One of the coolest drives I've done anywhere, like right up there with. Also, if you've ever been to Maui, the road to Hana is like the most insane road I think I've ever driven on. Where you're just like, oh shit, like we might die, like which I love roads like that, to be honest. Like I love traveling on like back roads, up hills with no guardrails, and then you get that pit in your stomach, and then all of a sudden you see the little like roadside cross, and you're like, oh shit, like I've had a few of those, and they're fun driving at night. I remember going to Yosemite a few years ago in California, and I knew I was basically going up the side of a mountain, but it was in the middle of the night, and I sleep in my car quite a bit. I slept in my last one, and I sleep in this one as well, because both are just Honda Elements, which shout out to those, the greatest cars in the world. And I had a 2004 Honda Element, and I guess I still do, but the thing doesn't run now. But now I upgraded, or I guess stayed about the same, but now I have a 03 Honda Element, and I plan to do all the sleeping in that too. But anyways, I was going up to Yosemite, and I'm going up the side of that, and it was the middle of the night, and I'm looking for a place to sleep on the side of it. Like, I'm just not, like, because you can't go in at night. They had it blocked off. So I was just going to sleep on the side of the road outside of Yosemite. I'm like, that's why I love those cars. It's like my hotel is wherever the hell I park my car that night. And, it's kind of a nice stealthy thing, because it doesn't look like an RV. It's, it's an SUV, it's a little SUV, or, whatever it's considered. But it's just a car, so it kind of fits in anywhere. Like, you can sleep in the middle of a. I'm promoting right now sleeping in your car places. I love doing it, but that's why you gotta get yourself a Honda Element. You can sleep in that thing. I've slept on it on the side of the road at Laguna Beach, on the beach places, on the side of the Pacific. And then also, those are obviously beautiful, but the real beautiful places are all the Walmart parking lots that I've slept in throughout the country, as well as the rest stops and whatnot. But that's the nice thing with that car is, you just kind of park anywhere, and it's like no one really thinks anything of it. Like if you have a big ass RV, you can normally tell when someone's living in an RV. And you don't see it so much. I notice it's very coastal. You see that a lot more in California, and then a little bit in like Oregon and Washington. But I think you see it a lot more altogether in California. But like there's no hiding if someone's living in an RV. It's like you can tell, like including there's just an RV parked on the side of the road, or in a residential area. It's like there's probably people like sleeping in there, Whereas like with the Honda Element, it's like you don't know. It's like, you don't even know. My ass is in there. I'm sleeping that back seat. I take my seats out. I might be playing my guitar back there. I might be making a sandwich. Like, I don't even know yet. It may sound like total shit, but I'm probably going to bring my little interface with and one of my microphones, and maybe try to do some podcasts while I'm traveling down there, and just record them from the back of my car. Who knows? We may be going live from the Honda Element, live from the 2003 Honda Element. I'm recording this right now in the WRFA studios, but next time you hear from me, maybe it'll be from the back of my car. But yeah, I love those things, and I keep getting sidetracked. Obviously, what I was saying earlier about Yosemite, as I keep going on about this, is I remember going down, I don't know, like a day or two later when I was leaving Yosemite, down the road that I drove up, and I looked where I was gonna park to sleep, and I'm like, fuck, like inches, like all I had to do is like, you know, because it was the middle of the night too, and it was pitch black. I mean, there's no street lights on the side of a mountain, and you know, I'm like, had I just moved, you know what I mean? Like, had I moved my car to the side? There's no guardrails. I just went an inch over a little. I just would have just hundreds of feet down, if not thousands of feet down, just a nice drop. And, you know, you see that in the daytime, you're like, oh shit. But, you know, I love roads like that. You know, the road to Honda and Maui is like that. Just absolutely amazing. I love drives like that. Blue Ridge Parkway, I wouldn't say is as treacherous as those, but it is a damn nice, drive, and I'm excited to, do it again. And, you know, it's something to do right now. I mean, obviously I definitely want to be careful. I'm not looking for large crowds. So I mean, I'm not looking to go you know, to a club or anything like that. I'm not going clubbing. So, you know, I'm going down seeing a few family members, and you know, saying my buddy will be me and him, and you know, I mean, the Outer Banks pretty desolate in parts. I'm interested to see. I mean, I guess it's in season now, but you know, with what's going on, we'll see if it's busy or not. But I mean, it's probably pretty desolate. You know, that and the Blue Ridge Parkway and places like that, I think you can keep your distance fairly well. And that's the nice thing about me, is that I like to broadcast and podcast, and I like to hike. And those are things you can do while being very socially distant. You know, I'm in a studio right now, and there's not a soul here. So I don't have to worry about that. And, you know, as far as the hiking goes, I mean, you know, just get back in the woods and the forest. And, you know, those are my favorite hikes, the ones where you don't see another soul just out there. And it's like, that's my thing. I like to be out there and just feel like I'm like, you know, even if I'm not in deep wilderness, it's just like, I like to like have solitude, or like, you know, whoever I'm hiking with at the time. And that's it. And just kind of feel like you're in the middle, you know, just in the middle of a forest. But I love doing that stuff. I'm excited to go do that. And, you know, like I said, responsibly. It's, you know, I think people get weird right now when you say you're like traveling places, but it's like, I'm kind of going to a couple specific places, and, you know, I will keep my distance and wear my face mask. And I will be back to, you know, do more of these shows. I obviously can't get COVID, because the world obviously needs the Power Chord Hour podcast, the most important podcast out there. And I mean, you know why? Because who else out there is, you know, bringing you these, you know, this June rundown, telling you all the good music that came out this month, playing you a couple tracks, got some music news for you, you know, all that good stuff. And, you know, it's, I mean, outside of the show, obviously, you know, the world, June has been a crazy month, and, you know, it's just flown by. But it's the same thing with earlier. I'm like, where did the year go? And it's like, well, you know, you were inside, you know what I mean? Like mid-March, I remember, you know, it's like everything just starts shutting down. And this is one of the first times I'm recording in the WRFA studios since March. If you listen to our Ben Jorgensen episode with Ben from Armor for Sleep, that was the last time I recorded in these studios. And I came in a few days ago, and, you know, pre-recorded those radio shows I was talking about. And this is the first time doing the podcast in here in quite a while. And you know, I mean, I have a nice setup at home that I enjoy doing, and you know, I did the radio show from my apartment when I lived in Minneapolis last year. And you know, so I don't mind doing like home recordings and stuff, but being in the studio is always the most fun. And you know, and like I said, who knows? We'll find out if being in the back of my vehicle might be fun. I mean, if it doesn't sound like complete horse shit, I'll podcast back there. I mean, I one time did do in college. I did do my Spanish final in my Honda Element, actually, and it was at Myrtle Beach in August. And I was staying at my aunt's condo, but her condo did not have Wi-Fi. And the closest place that had Wi-Fi was the Dunkin' Donuts down the street. And so I sat in the parking lot, but I had to roll. Now, like I said, this is August in Myrtle Beach, and it had to be high 90s, low hundreds. And I had the windows up because all these people were enjoying. If I remember correctly, it was one of those combinations of the Dunkin' Donuts and the TCBY ice cream or whatever it's called. So there's families out here enjoying. They're in Myrtle Beach. They're enjoying their ice cream. They're laughing and talking and stuff. So like I gotta roll up all the windows so I can hear my teacher, and we had to do it via Skype. And it was basically having a 10-minute conversation just all in Spanish, just obviously seeing that, you learned something that semester. But she had quite the look on her face when she called in, and I'm sweating too, probably profusely, because once again, I'm just trying to have it quiet to have the conversation, and the windows rolled up, it's 100 degrees, and it's this is where I have to be. That's where the Wi-Fi was. And thankfully I passed it, but that went okay. I passed a Spanish final in my car, and maybe I'll do some podcasts from my car. That will be fun. The car episodes, but I'm looking forward to getting out and doing that. And it's cool to be back in the studios here. They're really not going back to normal. I guess they're slowly shifting back towards quote unquote normal, but things aren't really going back to normal. But even the fact that, I'm back in the studio here, or, a couple months ago, there's no way I would, be going with my buddy, and hitting up the Blue Ridge Parkway. It just wouldn't be a thing that I would be wanting to go do. But, things are starting to go back somewhat to normal. And we'll see. But, end of the month, crazy month, but, flew by. As far as the show goes, talking to a lot of friends this month. I talked to my buddy David from 19 Cent Zine, but, he's just a straight-up buddy. And Kyle Steven last week, I laughed my ass off with him with that. I hope those episodes are fun. That's the second one we did with Kyle. He was on with my other buddy Zach for our top 5 Blink-182 songs a couple months back. And but the episode we did last week, Neon is for Josers, if you've not checked it out, is just, I think it's almost 3 hours long. I know we talked without, talking before the mics were on and talking afterwards. We bullshitted for 4 hours the night we recorded that. But, I think the end result for the podcast is at least 2.5, 3 hours. But I would say go check it out. I hope people enjoy that, because it's just, it's just two buddies truly just bullshitting. That's why I kind of wanted to keep it, and I didn't cut much out, because it's just I hope people enjoy it. That's where just the ridiculous things we talked about, hashtag Joser, if you don't know what that is, which if you don't know what a Joser is, you probably are a Joser, hashtag Joser, Joser. And, it's just so fun. It's just friends bullshitting and laughing and talking about music. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, go check that out. I like to have variety on here. I love doing interviews. The first episode this month, we talked to Jason Camacho of Audio Karate, and he's also a buddy and just a good dude. And we just kind of, we had an interview, but we also kind of did a long form and just kind of, talked and stuff and BS'd a little too. But, I do like to have that variety where it's maybe one episode we do kind of a more straight long forward, long form interview where there's kind of more of a subject matter, and I'm interviewing someone, about a record or something. And I like doing these rundowns at the end of the month. I like doing stuff like this. But I also like doing ones where, I'm just talking to friends who also love music just as much as I do. Because, and I hope they come out good. I'm probably biased because, once again, I'm talking to people who obviously I get along with. They're my friends. But, as listeners, I hope you enjoy that as much as we enjoy doing them, because, it's just two buddies talking. Same with the one with David. That episode was actually of all places recorded. It was recorded on Instagram Live, and we tried a couple different ways on a Saturday night, and nothing was working. So I ended up doing that episode via Instagram Live, and then I kind of cleaned it up a little bit and put it on the podcast feed. But I mean, that's the same one where it's like, I was hoping like while we were doing it, I was like, I hope someone enjoys this, because like I love doing it. It's really just me and my buddy David talking, but it's like, I hope someone likes listening to it. And me and Kyle and me and Dave, and just talking to some buddies this month, and it was just really, really fun. And we also put up if you've not listened to it, just some of the episodes this month. If you've missed some of the Power Chord Hour podcast, I also did put up a throwback episode with Ken Stringfellow, who you may know from the Posies, from REM, from Big Star. He was in Lagwagon for a record. He played guitar on Double Platinum and toured with them for like a year. Solo artist. I mean, the guy has done an insane amount, has an insane career. Ringo Starr has covered the Posies. He has covered a song that Ken has wrote or has written. And just an amazing guy. And, that was originally done in 2018 on the radio show. And, it was one that I really enjoyed doing. So, I would say go back and check that out if you haven't yet. And that one with Jason as well was really fun at the beginning of the month, talking about Lady Melody and Malo, and just kind of overall just talking about audio karate. But, it's been a fun month of episodes for that. And, the last few have really just kind of been, I feel like more like, just buddies kind of talking about music. But I hope people enjoy that, And it is funny because, we talked about it in the episode, but it's like, truthfully, like, I can't stress that enough. Like, me and Kyle originally were going to talk about, like, what bands got us into punk and alternative. And, we kind of talked about that, but, like, that episode just went so many different places. And I think the one place it really went multiple times, and the one track it went down and seemed to get stuck in a fucking mud pile and couldn't get out of said mud pile, trying to go forward in reverse, was just stuck in it, was basically just kind of talking about neon pop punk and how terrible so much of it was. Though maybe me and Kyle are both Josers, because it's like, even though we were making some jokes about, like, even like Metro Station, I even said that episode, it's like, yeah, I own that. I still probably do own that copy, but it's like, yeah, I own a copy of the Metro Station album. Like, I'm not saying I listen to it every day, but it's like, for as many jokes and shit as we were making, and rightfully so, some of it's not great. Also even that, I'm like, even I'll tell you, it's like, yeah, it's not a masterpiece. It's like, there's some good pop songs on there. But just how weird music was at that time, and pop punk and what was considered pop punk and all that. And I don't know, kind of a deep dive into it with your two pop punk experts, me and Kyle Steven, who has played in some pop punk bands, and I play lots of pop punk on this show. So I feel like we are certified in talking about something like that. We know what we're talking about. We're experts when it comes to 2008 neon pop punk. So go check out that episode if you have not yet. And there's other stuff to check out. I'm not going to be a dickhead and just keep checking out the Power Chord Hour. You obviously also got to check out the music that came out this month, because there was a lot of good music that came out. I got to say, really, like, in the beginning of the quarantine and everything back in like March, I at least me, I don't know if everyone else, but it was kind of up in the air, where I kind of looked at it and went, we're either going to get a lot of music from bands, or we're not going to, you know what I mean? Or like, no one's going to release anything. And we've been getting a lot of music. And the other part of that too is on top of if we're going to get music or not, the other big question is it going to be good? And I would say overall, pretty damn good. We've gotten a lot of good releases the past couple months, and this month is no exception. I'm going to play you a couple things here, but first give you a little rundown of what has come out. I'd say a big one, a lot of people have probably heard Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne sadly passed away due to COVID a few months back. And they did just put out a benefit comp, or a tribute comp, I should say. Well, actually both. I mean, the money does go, I believe, to Adam's family if I'm not mistaken. But it's called Saving for a Custom Van. That is on Bandcamp. Tons of great bands on there doing covers of Adam's music, and all goes to a great cause, so go check that out. Bad Cop put out The Ride on Fat Records. Commonwealth Choir put out No End. Off With Their Heads put out Character, and that is an acoustic one where they do acoustic versions of classic Off With Their Head songs as well as some covers, definitely worth checking out. Mrs. Piss put out Self Surgery. Territories put out When the Day Is Done. Newfound Glory put out Forever and Ever Times Infinity. I gotta say, I was just listening to that driving in to record this here podcast, and I've not finished the record yet. I am only a few songs in, and I gotta say, it's not perfect. I don't love it. I mean, because and there's some Newfound Glory records I love. I mean, there's eras of that band that I just absolutely love. But with that said, I do think that already this is much better than their last two records. This is probably the strongest thing they've put out since Steve was kicked out of the band. And I would say Resurrection had some good songs. I'm not going to say there's nothing on it that I didn't like. I mean, there's definitely good songs on there, but there's a lot of misses on it. And still, the other thing too is like the guitar thing. Like I could go on forever about it, so I won't. But and I'm fine with staying with one guitar player. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, that part made sense to me. Like, if they just want Chad play guitar once Steve was out, I get not adding another member. But what didn't make sense was in studio, they didn't record a second guitar, and it's like it's fine if you don't want to add another member, but like, there's so many trios who add a second guitar. I mean, they're not even a trio, but I mean, you know, bands with just one guitar player, like in the studio, they're always dubbing things. It's like a lot of times you do need to throw in a second guitar, and including Newfound Glory, it just sounded weird on Resurrection. Like, there are definitely parts on there where I'm like, I think that album is hurting because of the lack of guitar, and makes me sick. I was not into, but this new one, I gotta say, I'm only a few songs in, but already I like it more than the last two records. So, you know, I mean, I feel like there's other fans who are kind of in that same boat as me. So I will say, go check that out. I definitely, I've been pleased with what I've heard on it so far. So go check out Forever and Ever Times Infinity. Arches a Loaf giving us more new music, and I'm going to play you something here very shortly. But they've released a couple singles this year, and I'm excited. You know, at the beginning of the year, I thought they were releasing a full length. Turns out they were not, but we got Raleigh Days and a cover of Street Fighting Man, and now they just put out Talking Over Talk. It is a brand new single with a B-side, Cruel Reminder. So, I mean, we got 4 new Arches a Loaf songs this year, and first time in I think about 20 years. So, I mean, really, really awesome. I hope we're inching towards a full length, because they have not disappointed. They've come back. They're just one of those bands where they came back and it just works. Like, they don't sound like they missed a beat. They don't sound like they haven't been a band for multiple decades. Like, I mean, it's insane, but they're coming back, you know, just as strong as ever, and I love it. So I'll definitely play you something here. Another one I'm going to play you, Bob Mould's new single, American Crisis, comes off his new record coming out this September, and it just makes me so happy. I mean, Bob Mould has been putting out music very, very consistently the last few years. I mean, we just got Sunshine Rock last year, one of my favorite albums of 2019, and the energy on this one, I mean, I can't wait for you to hear it. There's so much energy. Bob sounds pissed off. You know, lots of social commentary on the song, and it has Husker Du vibes. I got to say, like, if this is any indication of what the rest of the record's going to sound like, I'm really, really excited. I think you're going to like it. I'm going to play that for you here, too. Joyce Manor put out Songs from Northern Torrents. While that is not new music, it is a rarities collection of everything pre their first record. So all the rarities off like 7 inches and just random songs that they put out, and a lot of stuff that I never heard before. As much as I love Joyce Manor, I've never dwelled too deep into like the non-studio tracks or like any of the older stuff. I've heard things here and there, but there's a lot of songs on here I'd never heard before. So I mean, if you're a casual fan or haven't heard some of that older stuff, I mean, if you've been there since the beginning, I don't know if there's anything on here that you haven't heard. but probably still a good reminder, kind of a refresher, and reminds you why you fell in love with that band in the first place. And if you're like me, you will find some stuff that you never heard before, so that's pretty cool. If you're looking for some good ska, you gotta go check out Catbite and Omnigore. They put out a split EP, well worth your time. Another song I'm going to play for you is a new single from Broadway Calls. It is Meet Me on the Moon off their new record, Sad in the City, coming out next month on Red Scare Industries. First new thing from them in years, and it is good to have them back. This new song's really good, and I mean, it's just like with Bob Mould. It's like if this first single is indication of what we're going to get later on, we're going to get some really, really good stuff from them. We got Special Moves with Thank You, Pile of CDRs. That is a new single coming out, or is out, and they have a new full-length coming out. Their debut full-length coming out, I believe, next month, and I'm going to play you that Special Moves here soon. A little out of our realm, but I mean a legend, and I absolutely love him, as do many of your favorite musicians, whether you do or not, which I got to be honest, I only became a fan about 4 years ago at age 23. One day it finally clicked, and I'm like, okay, I guess I like him. But Bob Dylan with Rough and Rowdy Ways, he's just a legend. Got to go check it out. Even at his age, he's putting out some really, really good stuff, and I got to see him live before I left Minnesota last year. I got to see him play in Mankato in October, and I mean, he's like 79, and it was like, holy shit, like he was absolutely amazing. And I gotta say, been to a lot of shows in my life, and that show was up there, is one of the strongest smell, like in the back of smelling of weed, like was really impressive how much that room smelled. I mean, and maybe I really shouldn't be surprised. I mean, not that that's too surprising of an audience, but really I'm like, holy shit. Though still taking the cake of that has to be HR from Bad Brains. I saw him do his solo stuff a few years ago with his solo band in at the not the Altar Bar, the Fun House at the Altar Bar, the smaller room there. And, there were quite a few people there, but for being such a small place, that the smell of weed in there rivals what you smell at like arenas. And, I mean, I was impressed. Once again, not surprised. I mean, not a particularly surprising concert that would smell like that, but still, I was like, to how much it smelled like, and I'm like, wow, respect. But HR and Bob Dylan are up there, and go check out that new Bob Dylan. I've not listened to the whole record yet. I've heard the singles and a couple other songs off. I've heard like 5 songs, and they're all really, really good. Coo and Howl put out Wires Fly Wild. Gotta go check that out. The Dirty Nil put out a new single, Done with Drugs. Switchfoot put out Covers EP, and the Buzzcocks put out Sell You Everything. It is a collection from 1991 to 2014 of their recordings. Well worth checking out. And we're going to get into it right now. Like I said, we got some new music for you. And opening up this new block of music on the Power Chord Hour podcast, here is Arches a Loaf with Talking Over Talk. Absolute pure energy on that one right here on the Power Chord Hour podcast. That was Bob Mould with American Crisis. I am so excited for his new record. Before that was Special Moves with Thank You, Pile of CDRs. Before that was Broadway Calls, first one from them in a long time, with Meet Me on the Moon. And opening up that block of music was a new one from Arches a Loaf with Talking Over Talk. Like I said, I mean, really a good year for music. I gotta say, I mean, whether it's stuff that's been recorded during the whole quarantine, or stuff that was recorded and released even beforehand, whatever, really good year for music. I mean, absolutely really, really good year. And from doing the radio show for a couple years now, I've said it a couple times, it's like, I don't just say that. Like, I mean, there are some years where when it comes to December and I need to make like my top 10 list for the year for like my favorite records, sometimes it's a stretch and it's very difficult. So, I mean, there's years where like I can see this year being at the end of the year, it might be difficult, but not for the same reason of I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I can't think of 10 albums that I like. It'll be, holy shit, how do I whittle this down to just 10 albums, there's so much coming out in the second half of the year, and the first half, a lot of really good stuff. My top three, I think, still would be probably the Bomb Pops' Death in Venice Beach, the Suicide Machines' Revolution Spring, and the Strokes' The New Abnormal. I would say those are probably my three favorite records of the year, and I did not think at all that the Strokes were going to be one of my favorite albums of the year, but that is up there. I really am not too surprised by the Bomb Pops or the Suicide Machines. And, I mean, it's not to say that I don't like the Strokes, but I just didn't think that they were going to put out a new record where I was like, because even after the first couple songs, and even after the first listen, I was kind of like, yeah, it's okay, but I don't love it. And it's just kind of all turned around for me. It is absolutely one of my favorite releases of the year. But yeah, we got a lot of new stuff coming out the second half of the year, and we already have a bunch of really good stuff that's come out. So I'm very stoked. And as we start to close down this June rundown, speaking of new music, I got your music news for the month. And the Deftones have announced that they have finished a brand new record that they tracked back in summer 2019. And the band did record it in Los Angeles, and the album is now being mixed in Seattle. And the band worked with Terry Date, which if you're a fan, he worked on a lot of the band's early releases, and one of them being the fan favorite 2000's White Pony, which turns 20 this year. So not only are we going to get a new Deftones record, but on top of that, 2000's White Pony is going to be reissued with a deluxe reissue, and it's going to include a disc of brand new remixes never heard before called Black Stallion. Black Stallion. And I'm excited for that. The Deftones are a band that I'm not the first one saying this, but it's like they're a band who they kind of get grouped in with new metal bands, but like I'm a person I'm not a fan of new metal. I never have been, but I love the Deftones. There's a lot of other people who say that too, where it's like a lot of like the Deftones contemporaries and bands that they tour with or get kind of compared to, I'm really normally not a fan of, but there's something about the Deftones that are just like, I don't know. I hope this makes sense, but they're almost like the Jimmy Eat World of, I guess metal or new metal, I hope that kind of makes sense. Like they're just a band. Like what I'm saying is they're a band with this, like for one, they just know how to write a good song. So it's like they're in a genre where, I feel like a lot of their contemporaries and stuff maybe aren't writing the most quality lyrics or the most quality music, where like the Deftones do. And they also have, like a wide array of influences. So like I think that's the other reason why it's like, sure, I mean, at times it's, it's hard rock or it's metal, but there's these interesting things that they do on there where I feel like even if you're not normally someone who would be like their audience, I feel like they get a lot of people who you would not think would be fans, but definitely are. And I'm one of them. Like I said, there's just most bands that the Deftones are associated with, I'm just not a fan of. It's just not my cup of tea. But the Deftones are always rad. I'm always excited for new music from them. So that's going to be cool, as well as White Pony. I mean, that one's a classic for sure. And crazy to think it's 20 years old. And that'll be cool to hear Black Stallion with the brand new remixes. I don't know if they've been done, like if they're unearthed and unreleased, or if they were remixed specifically for this deluxe reissue. But we'll find out when that comes out. More new music news. Mark Hoppus has announced on his Instagram that he is working on music remotely with John Feldman. And the session so far has included both writing and recording. And if this is for new Blink-182 material, then this is going to be the band's third album working with John as a producer, third one in a row as well. And it will also be Matt Skiba's third record with the band. God, it just feels like yesterday that the whole fucking debacle of in 2015. I will never forget this. I can tell you where I was, and I was in college in the computer lab in 2015 when the whole Music thing was coming out, and Blink-182 with Matt Skiba was playing, and people are like, and when it first came out, like even I remember being one of the people like, does that mean like Matt's playing with them? Like I'm like, oh, that's cool and weird. Like Matt's playing like rhythm guitar, like they're finally adding a second guitarist live. Like, what is this? And then just the whole like I mean, if you're a fan or you know anything about that, and maybe you watched it that day, that's another one. Hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com, if you remember the debacle of that day, how there was basically like the PR team for Blink-182 and then the PR team for Tom DeLonge were both saying different things. Like one's going, Tom's out of the band, then the other one rebuttals and goes, no, Tom's not out of the band, and then it rebuttals, and like Tom never knew he was out of the band, and then it rebuttal, and it's like, yes, Tom knew, and we signed this thing, it was insane. But reading that news to go, this is going to be the third record with Skiba on it is so crazy that they're that far in. And I don't know. I've been pretty vocal about it. I don't hide it. I'm not really a fan at all of Blink-182 post Tom DeLonge. And I mean, one of my all-time favorite bands. They're my second favorite band behind the Replacements. And up until just a few years ago, before the Replacements were my favorite band, Blink-182 would have been my all-time favorite band. And, I guess the Replacements, here's what the Replacements did. They were smart. They're not a band anymore, so they can't disappoint me with that. Matt Skiba can't join the Replacements and put out a shitty Replacements record. So to me, I love every era of the Mats. Not everyone does, but I love every era and every album. So to me, they have a flawless back catalog, and it's really untouched. Whereas with Blink-182, still one of my favorite bands, but now they're putting out stuff that I'm just not at all a fan of. California is there's a couple good songs on it, and even if it was an EP, I probably would like it. Like you could put like Cynical, Bored to Death. Even like She's Out of Her Mind, like really like the first 3 songs on the record, because they lose me around like Los Angeles, and I think that's like track 4 where that's where I start going like, all right, what the fuck is this? But like the first like 3 songs, San Diego's really good, and that actually is a really good song, and then like 1 or 2 others. But most of that album is not good, and just it feels like a colored by numbers. Like it sounds like a band trying to rip off Blink-182, but it ends up being Blink-182 ripping off Blink-182, but not particularly well either. Like, just not a fan. And I love Alkaline Trio. Like, that's the other thing. It's like, I ain't shitting on Skiba. I love Alkaline Trio. I think Matt Skiba, one of the greatest lyricists in pop punk rock. And that's the other thing I've said 100 times too, is that's what I don't get about what they do, is Matt Skiba's an amazing lyricist. And, Mark's not a bad lyricist. I don't think Blink-182 has ever had the greatest lyrics of all time. But, I think he's gotten to become a better writer with time. And I think he wrote some really good and smart and interesting lyrics during Plus 44 and stuff. And, like, the things, like, with that said, like, knowing how Matt and Mark can both write, I just feel like so much of it just sounds dumbed down on their records, which, in my opinion, has to do with John Feldmann. And another one too, which it's kind of funny that I don't like the Skiba era now of Blink-182, because I love Blink-182, I love Matt Skiba, and quite frankly, I love John Feldmann. Goldfinger is a great band, and I think he's a good producer. But here's my thing with him. John Feldmann is a good producer if you need help getting your sound shaped. That's why he's very good with bands who start out. He produced like all of those debut records from those pop punk and emo bands of the early 2000s, but they were their first records. He helped shape their sound, and that's why it was good. Whereas with Blink-182, he's going in with this mindset that I think he goes in with new bands, and it just doesn't work because they've been, you know what I mean? Like, you can't jump in on a band who's been around for 20 years. And yeah, I get it. I mean, you're revamping with Skiba, but it's like he went in and he just basically was like, I almost feel like, and this is kind of more specifically for California. 9, I'll be honest, I've heard songs off 9, but I don't think I've ever listened to it front to back. Cannot hold my attention. But on California, what I feel like is John Feldmann basically went in, took Blink-182's 5 biggest songs, All the Small Things, What's My Age Again, I Miss You, Feeling This, like First Date, and he used, like, he basically went through, and because he's a genius musically and, music theory and all that, went through and could pick out the things that he thought made those songs popular, big, and use them again on California, like rehash them and reuse them and recycle them. And it just did not work well. I mean, and literally, like, I mean, to talk about, like, what I'm saying, things like the flanger on the drums in the beginning of Bored to Death, like, just like in Feeling This, like, there's like, I mean, to really get into it, like the music theory and stuff. And once again, John Feldman knows this shit. So I know that, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a far-fetched theory to go, John Feldman, like, is like, trying to craft the perfect Blink-182 song by putting flangers on drums or anything. But he knows music theory, and as a producer, he works on this shit and meticulous. I mean, I interview producers on here all the time, and we talk about this stuff where, like, what makes you a producer is that meticulous stuff where you go, what would make this song good if we layer finger snaps in this part, or if we put hand claps here, or if we layer the vocals on this one word to emphasize the phrasing. Like, that's why they're producers. You know what I mean? Like, that is why they are record producers. And, John is no exception, but it's like he went in and did that. And by doing that, it just, like, it makes it sound like a Blink-182 cover band and not a good one. There's just, like I was saying, it's like Matt Skiba can write amazing lyrics and so can Mark Hoppus. And then there's songs like Sober on there where I'm like, this is just cheesy. This is just absolutely cheesy. So I don't know. I mean, I would love to tell you, and it blows my mind. If you would have told me 10 years ago that the news of new Blink-182 music wouldn't get me that excited, I wouldn't be able to believe you. I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, that was the biggest thing for me. Like, I remember Neighborhoods coming out and Dogs Eating Dogs coming out. Like, because I didn't become a fan of them till after they broke up. So, I really wasn't there for, like, the release of Dude Ranch or anything like that. I found those all later on. But, it's a bummer, but with that said, I still, even with 9, I still checked out a couple songs. It's like, I'm sure I'll do the same on this. It's like, I'll check something out. I'm always going to check out something that they release, but, I'm just not into it. And part of me gets it. Look they like sticking with a producer. They like to find a producer that works for them, and they like to stick with that. They don't like fucking with the formula. That's always been Blink-182. They did it with Jerry Finn until he passed away, and that worked. Jerry Finn produced all their greatest records. And Jerry Finn, in my opinion, is the great, he's my all-time favorite producer, and I put him up there as one of the all-time greatest record producers. Outside of Blink-182, go look at his wiki page. It's the amount of credits that he has will blow your mind if you don't know. He's worked with, everyone from Blink-182, Green Day, Senses Fail, Phoenix TX, Morrissey, Alkaline Trio. Just the list goes on. That's just the tip of the iceberg. It's insane. Super Drag is, a head trip in every key. Amazing. Like, if you want to talk about some of his best production work, that's one of them, is Super Drag's a head trip in every key. One of the greatest producers of all time. And Blink-182 used him on everything from Enema of the State through Self-Titled, and he ended up passing away. I don't think he worked on, he may have worked on When Your Heart Stops Beating. I don't think he worked on We Don't Need to Whisper. But he did work with Mark and Travis, I think, in Plus 44 before passing away. But he was basically the unofficial fourth member of Blink-182. And, like I totally get it. Like, they found a formula that worked, and I'm happy that they used Jerry Finn for all those records. He plays a large role, like, from everything from why Tom's guitar tone is so good to, why they just wrote better hooks than they did prior to that. All those things. And also credit to Blink-182. Mark and Tom obviously also became better songwriters, not to discredit them, but Jerry Finn has so much to do for the sound of that band, and people don't realize that. But, so I get that with the whole John Feldman thing where it's like they want to latch on to him. But, for me personally, I don't like what they're making with him. So that's the problem with it. If you're a fan of what they're doing, then a band sticking with a producer isn't bad. It's like Rise Against with Bill Stevenson. It's like, he's produced, like, I think almost all of their records. And if you're a fan, like, I think, and that's the thing, it's like, if you're a fan of Rise Against, then I think that works, including the later stuff. Like maybe you're a fan more of the like, early like punk stuff. I don't know that he produced their first couple records, but you can tell like if you go listen, you can tell the ones that are produced by Bill Stevenson. I think it works. I think it was a formula that works really well for that band, and I get why they work with him. But if you're not a fan of what they do together, then it sucks when they work on every album together, like that's the thing with it. And it's the thing with John now. It's like John's a great producer. There's a lot of bands. I want John to produce Mest records. I want John to produce the Used records, Story of the Year records. Like, bands like that who he produced their first records and helped shape their sound. I want him working with them because they work well together and get a good formula. I don't think John works as well with with older established bands. I don't think his way of production works for that, Works amazing for new bands. Works absolutely amazing for bands trying to find their sound. But if you're Blink-182 and you're 20-something years in, I just don't think you need the assistance that comes with him, That is my smug-ass opinion. But moving on, last piece of music news for you for this month. Riot Fest has canceled this year's festival. I don't think that is surprising anybody. For a minute there, I was holding out hope. And we're talking like March, like as shit was just finally closing and shutting down. Part of me kind of saw Riot Fest, like for all the music festivals, like all the summer ones weren't going to happen. But part of me saw Riot Fest like, I don't know, maybe that will still happen, by September. But it is definitely not. It has been canceled for 2020, but it has been rescheduled with a new lineup for September 16th through the 19th for 2021. And this first wave lineup announcement, absolutely amazing. People are going nuts over it. Riot Fest never disappoints with the lineups. I was just talking about this with David on a few weeks back on our episode with him, and just about how some of the most amazing lineups from festivals, I think years from now we're going to look back at Riot Fest and go like, that was a, you know what I mean? Like you look at a lineup and go like, that was a lineup, like that was a festival lineup. Like I truly think Riot Fest will be one of those. And a bunch of bands have already been announced in the first wave lineup. Some of those include Smashing Pumpkins, Saves the Day, My Chemical Romance, Newfound Glory, Pup, Bayside, L7, Jawbox, Run the Jewels, The Circle Jerks, Thursday, Taking Back Sunday, and a whole lot more. Something for everyone there. And the festival will keep announcing the rest of the lineup through the year. So, that's just the beginning. There are tons more bands to be announced. And, pretty cool. They haven't, I will say though, like for me, they haven't announced like that one band. Like they normally have the one band each year, like, like the Jawbreaker reunion or the Replacements reunion. And, I'm kind of waiting for that for this year. And, I don't know if there will be one or not, but either way, impressive lineup so far. And, I still think 2013, probably the craziest lineup, but this one's shaping up to be pretty damn good. And, if you've never been, you got to go check out Riot Fest. I got to get back up there. Just tons of friends there, tons of great bands. It's a fun time. Very, very well put together festival. And kind of a random factoid, which I've never heard anyone else talk about, but I realized this while driving Route 66, talking about traveling again. I last November was driving the Chicago section of Route 66, where the Mother Road begins actually, or ends, depending, if you started in Los Angeles or on the Santa Monica Pier, you would, I guess, end in Chicago. But if you're going towards California, then you would start in Chicago. But anyways, I didn't realize this, but I was driving it, and Douglas Park, where they do Riot Fest, is on Route 66. So, people don't realize that, but, little piece of American history there. If you're going to see Riot Fest, as long as they still do it there, Riot Fest is technically on Route 66, which I think is awesome because I love Route 66. It's something I'm really into, and so I kind of got a kick out of that. I'm like, hell yes. I saw Jawbreaker reunite on Route 66. It's one of those things. You don't hear people talk about that, but I realized that, and I looked some things up. I double checked and verified, and I'm like, yep, it's on Route 66. So kind of a random factoid, but pretty cool. And I'm excited for Riot Fest. I'm excited for live music to come back. A lot of bands are not a lot of bands, but a few bands are doing the drive-in thing, actually playing drive-ins. Two come to mind, Local H, speaking of Chicago, are doing some in the suburbs of Chicago, which should be really, really cool. I'm excited to see video of that, and I would actually love to go see that. And Hawthorne Heights are also doing some in Ohio. So, drive-ins people are going for movies, and also people are starting to play shows there. So I think drive-ins are going to have a resurgence, which I've always loved drive-ins, and sadly they all just seem to close. You can't really find them. We used to have a good one here in Jamestown, and that one closed a couple years ago, and now the closest one is like an hour and a half away. I love drive-ins. I wish you saw them more often, but sadly you don't. That is going to be this episode. Thank you so much for checking out the June rundown. Cannot believe we are going into July, but thank you so much. If you're listening to this, I got to thank you because you were part of it, because you were listening to the show, and I want to thank you. I would say the highlight of the year has been doing the podcast. It is, it's been awesome. Doing the radio show for 4 years. I've thought about doing the podcast for the longest time, and finally doing it. I've had great feedback. Some guests who are just absolutely amazing, and had some friends on to talk. Really cool. And I mean, truthfully, the feedback is the coolest part. Hearing people hit me up and go like, I really like your show is, just the coolest damn thing. So if you ever want to hit me up and talk music, powerchordhour@gmail.com. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, I got those stickers and those guitar picks. I will send you some out absolutely free as a thank you for that support. I put my money where my mouth is. I do genuinely appreciate the listeners. So hit me up. I'll send you some free shit. And stay connected with the show at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're on Spotify. I put up a playlist every week of the music that I play on the radio show. And check out the radio show, the Power Chord Hour, on 107.9 WRFA every Friday night at 10 Eastern. You can listen to that on 107.9 WRFA in Jamestown, New York. If you do not live here, though, you can listen from anywhere in the world. You can stream the station at our website, WRFALP.com. And go check that out. Also, shout out to Steve Clayton Custom Picks for the brand new Power Chord Hour guitar picks. I love them. If you play guitar, I gotta tell you, they make shit sound bright. I really like it. I think they actually make your guitar sound bright, and bass. They make your strings sound brighter than the other ones do. And I can't remember. I guess these ones are a little heavier gauge than the white ones if you have our old ones. But they're really good. They make stuff sound bright, which I like. And hit me up. I will send you some. But yeah, that is it. I'm gonna go enjoy myself on a little family get together, or I shouldn't even say get together. It makes it sound like there's going to be a bunch of us. I'm going to go visit my aunt and uncle, and also go see my buddy, and go do the Blue Ridge Parkway. I'm going to go see like 3 people, but it's just weird right now because, like you hate to say it, like I don't want to make it sound like I'm going on some vacation or like going to crowded beaches or, clubs or something like that, But yes, I am going to go out of town and go see a couple family members. But like I said, even though we were not going to have new episodes the next couple weeks, I will have throwback episodes for you. So check back next week. It is my past interview with CJ Ramone, bass player of the Ramones from 1989 to 1996. He took over when Dee Dee left after they recorded Brain Drain, and he stayed in the band until they broke up. And very, very interesting guy, great guy. This is, funny enough, it was one of my first interviews ever, and to this day, it is my all-time favorite radio interview that I've ever done. And I gotta have him back on. We gotta have CJ back on. He was actually, I didn't bring it up because you try not to do that with interviews until they happen, because then you look like an idiot when they don't happen. But I was supposed to have him on again earlier in the year, and things got messed up on my part, not him. We actually did have it booked, and we had some fuck-ups on my end, and did not happen. And we've been trying to book it, did not work out yet, but we still got to get that rescheduled. So I mean, he was supposed to come back on, make another appearance. We'll definitely have him back on. CJ is one of the nicest guys. Which, I mean, the Ramones, man, he was in the Ramones. When you go to, I was nervous to interview him, and I interviewed him, and he was the coolest damn guy. just such a cool, down-to-earth guy. So go check that out. You know, it was from the radio show back in 2017. This will be the first time it's on the podcast feed, and that'll be out next Tuesday. And the Tuesday after that, we'll have an episode with Mark McMillan of Hawthorne Heights and the Story Changes, as an interview I did with him last year on the Power Chord Hour radio show from the Story Changes. They're new then, I guess it's a year old now, but really, really great record. One of my favorite albums, 2019, To Hell With This Delicate Equation. And we'll play that for you. We talked about the Story Changes as well as Hawthorne Heights, and get into some cool stuff. So 2 interviews I think are well worth reposting, even though they're old interviews. You've probably never heard them if you don't listen to the radio show. So we'll have those in this podcast feed for you here coming up the next 2 weeks. And then after that, I'll be back with some new shit for you. So until then, for the Power Chord Hour, I'm Anthony Merchant. Thank you so much for listening.